All right, let's get into this chat now. The Iber Cup, a major international youth football tournament, is underway in Gauteng, having started on the 12th of December and will conclude tomorrow. So the tournament is all about showcasing the talent South Africa has to offer to international clubs, as well as opening new opportunities for local footballers. Today marks day 4 of the tournament. To speak to us more about this is Micheal, the CEO, of course, of Iber Cup South Africa, to sort of get more insight into this tournament, the importance, of course, of South Africa hosting this major youth tournament. You call it, Micheal. Good morning and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
We were speaking off air and you said that you've lost so much weight organizing the Iber Cup this year.
Well, I think I've now realized football has a second role. We can start a Weight Watchers program because I've lost 10 kilograms in literally 10 days.
That's crazy, Micheal. Let's talk about this competition, hosting over 4,000 youth football players from around the world. Why is South Africa hosting it?
So, a very interesting story. 2018, I took, with a group of support, 186 players of South Africa to go and play in the Iber Cup in Portugal. They did so well. We got into cup finals. Coaches were recognizing our talent, but it cost over 55,000 rand to get a kid overseas. So we just went, it's virtually impossible. The scale of economy is just never going to work in our favor. We went to Iber Cup and we asked them, can we procure the rights for Africa? And South Africa being the penultimate place for us to be playing football. And they were just ecstatic. This is something we've been waiting for 5-6 years. They've been operating since 2010. We've just felt South Africa's missing out of the mix. And we did the deal. We came back here and we said, let's bring international teams here to showcase our talent.
Showcasing the talent of South Africa to international European teams. And there's some great teams obviously participating in this competition. Teams from South America, England as well, other parts of the continent where football is a culture in those parts of the world. What does it mean, though, to have an 8, 9 and a 10-year-old South African competing against great European competition and opponents?
So we've had a lot of interesting feedback from coaches and players and people, and the greatest testament to this tournament is it's more about than kicking a football. So Iber Cup has a value system that we honestly believe is very important to instilling in building the next generation of leaders in South Africa. The youth is our future. It's not us anymore. And we instill football as a tool to start bringing values, discipline, respect, humility, and more importantly, how to work together in social cohesion. So 8 and 9 and 10-year-olds aren't affected by the world as we are. So when you see children at that age laughing, playing, hugging, crying, it's been emotional for some of them. You realize we have a great future ahead of us if we can just keep the momentum. Iber Cup just represents an opportunity also for the child sitting in a township who's maybe lost a bit of hope. We're giving them a bit of a chance to start going, actually, it's here. Maybe I can get into a team, a game, a play, because it's no longer something I watch on television anymore. It's in my backyard. Our challenge is how do we get to all these millions of children who are incredibly talented, but we have some ideas around that too.
All right, and I see you guys have partnered up with the Gauteng Department of Sports, Arts and Culture to host this competition. Tell us about the importance of having the backing of the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture.
It's imperative. In every country, we have to have government support because they can help us unlock exactly the question I was talking about earlier, opportunities for us to reach a far wider net. So Gauteng Provincial Government, Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation have been phenomenal. They have assisted us in putting together 10 school teams, which we sponsor. They've assisted in 10 development teams, which ordinarily could never get to a tournament of this nature. And the biggest thing for me is 20 female teams. And that's our focus. We have opportunity to build women's football because it's still so new. It's in inception in South Africa. And when I say new, it's not filtering down to the younger girls yet. But the government, we have been amazing in terms of we've provided jobs. 14,000 people will be employed over a period of time. And we're fitting into their criteria in starting to deliver back into the communities elements that work. And I think that's really our starting point. So they've been phenomenal. And also with the new MEC, Shaloni, who is also an MEC of education, we're starting to see a correlation between sport in schools on Wednesdays in the Gauteng Education Department.
Yeah. Does it open opportunities then of South Africa hosting and this tournament in the future again? It mustn't be in once-off. Is there talks maybe of the Gauteng Department of Sports really backing this to ensure that South Africa does continue to host the Iber Cup?
I'm very proud to say the MEC announced at the opening ceremony we have signed a 3-year deal. Okay. So for the next 3 years, IberCup will be providing opportunity for children to start seeing they do belong on the global platform.
They do belong on the global platform. That's quite important because at the end of the day, there will be scouts watching these games, watching these youngsters go onto the field and playing against European opposition. Are there scouts? What are they seeing? Are they impressed with the talent coming from, the local parts of South Africa?
So we have 7 scouts that are here, including the scouts from the major international teams, Paris Saint-Germain, Benfica, PSV Eindhoven, and Espanyol de Barcelona. And a scout actually came out without us realizing. And he arrived, and we know who he is. And I don't want to mention his name because I don't want to put pressure under the poor man. But he's already selected 4 players that he believes he can take overseas immediately. Obviously, there's a grooming process. We have to understand the language barriers and the food and the psychological profile of a child to go overseas. So our response has just been phenomenal. We have 2 females that have been highlighted as immediates that can start traveling overseas. But I think the most important thing is that before we start taking children overseas, we also need to understand the journey. These scouts, and look, I'm allowed to mention the team name, I presume, but Kaizer Chiefs came against PS Eindhoven in the first game, and this is the Dutch champions, and they beat them 3-1. We were jumping in the stands like madmen because we've been proclaiming for years, South Africa has an abundance of talent you've never seen. Come here and see what we can do. And all of a sudden, these international coaches are coming to us and going, we're just flabbergasted. Why? I always say it. Our one-on-one dribbling style, if we can blend that with the European style and we can merge the two together, our boys will be playing in Europe in the next 3 years, more players than you've ever seen before in your life.
Yeah, because what I'm getting from you now is that you're basically saying that it is possible to take a young 8-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old to Europe from South Africa. But then I wonder whether the gap between Europe and South Africa, that gap is still big when it comes to youth development. How do we then bridge that gap so that that 8-year-old child from the township is not going to have trouble going to Europe and playing football with his counterparts who are much more developed at that age, Micheal?
So you're 100% right. So that's why we have to be very careful in the consideration of moving a child. FIFA's law is very simple. A child cannot move overseas as an under 18 child unless the parents take up citizenship of that country, move there, get a job, etc. So there's quite a lot of profiling. But what we do is if a coach sees a player that he believes is important, they start working with the local team and coach to start grooming that child. Because again, you can imagine being uprooted out of a township in Plant in Barcelona, for instance, you're just going to run away after 3 months. It's just overwhelming. But yet, it's the hunger. You look at any of the big guys, Benny McCarthy, Lucas, some of our famous guys, I mean, they went over with very little understanding, but they fought and they grind and they carry on until they get there. That we have to instill in our youth, that it's not going to be easy. Those kids speak Spanish in front of you, you don't know what they're saying, you phone mom, I want to come home. So that's why we've broken the barrier and we are saying, reverse the process. Instead of me taking a 9, 8, 10-year-old overseas, if you see he's the talent you want, and listen, digital technology is everything. So we film, we put them into an AI program where they measured constantly, looked after, and we're doing it on our soil. There will come a time where they're going to be saying, listen, you have to come now. We took a 16-year-old boy to Spain, and my greatest news is one of our Banyana players, Leandra Smeda, made the first team of Espanyol de Barcelona.
Yeah.
She
won the league.
Yes, and now she's moved up.
Yeah.
She's been taken by a Saudi team. That's what we want to know, because again, it's the welfare and well-being. A 10-year-old sits there and he doesn't believe a Paris Saint-Germain will ever come to his doorstep. This was Mbappe's team. You cannot believe what our kids are like with these international teams. The respect. These teams are taking photographs like they are rock stars. They cannot move. Our kids flood them because they just want to touch it. And that gives them the belief it is possible.
All right, Michael, we are running out of time. In 30 seconds, it's day 4 today. The finals are tomorrow. What do we expect in the next coming days? And, of course, the trophies that are here in studio with us.
I really believe, and I need the public to know this, over 10,000 people have been through the doors. These trophies are what everybody wants to lift. More importantly, the highest ranked South African team that wins this tournament, we will take to play in Portugal in June in the biggest global football tournament ever. South Africa is going to be represented finally.
Michael Bender, thank you so much for your time this morning. All the best of luck. Don't lose too much weight after this.
Thank you so much for having me, and I don't intend to.
Michael Bender, of course, is the CEO of IberCup South Africa, speaking to us this morning about this competition concluding tomorrow, of course, the 16th of December. Over 4,000 kids participating in this tournament.